So the date is 25th November 2020. That's yesterday. Yesterday evening, out playing soccer with my family and a few of my friends. And after soccer, we're now looking to get into our car and head back home. And I'm seated in the car around 7-ish p.m. waiting for my cousin to get done winding down and whatever he was doing so that we can get the journey back home started. And I turned on my phone, checked my phone, and when I turned on my data, I get a notification, and there was one that really caught my eye, and it was from my friend called Doro, who asked me the question, is it true that Maradona is dead? And so I just see the notification immediately, and immediately I go try to look for the information to find out, okay, why is he asking me that question? And Wikipedia is really fast, and the first thing I notice is was. All right, I'm looking through, I'm like, is there a dash? In 1962, like 1962, but it isn't there. But the was really caught my attention. I'm like, why is there a was? Why isn't there an is? Why is it a was? And then just looking through, I find the news outlets and Gary Lineker's Twitter post where he was breaking the news that a paper from Argentina had confirmed that Maradona had died. Now, affirming my friend's question, I don't know, something in me just dropped. Something in me just dropped. I've never really watched Maradona play. I've never really taken time to look into Maradona, but just hearing that Maradona was dead, something just dropped in me. And, reading through all these stories, reading through the various news outlets, trying to explain, trying to break the information, I'm reading through it, and really something in me is just like, I can't believe Maradona is dead. Now, I'm not gonna come on here and try to give you all sorts of information, because other news outlets have already given that to you. You've seen that on social media, like the year he was born or what clubs he moved to in the right chronological order or what have you. I'm not gonna do that because it's already out there and you can get that information. What I'm going to do today is practically just talk about Maradona. This guy, as I say, I've never watched him play. The only time I, during my time on Earth and knowing about Maradona, the only things you'd hear about him is him coming up with these controversial statements, or he's in the news for whether Ronaldo is the best, whether Messi is the best, or maybe criticizing Argentina. That's what I knew him for in this day and age. And I never seen him play. And hearing the news that he's in and out of hospitals and had that drug, alcohol addiction, that's what I knew of Maradona. But we, in our generation, we know Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo to be the greatest players of all time. But then there was always that lingering information, that lingering reminder that, there is an argument that Maradona is the greatest of all time from the people who watched him play. And, we never seeing it like, what we're seeing right now. I don't think there's anyone who has ever done what Ronaldo and Messi are doing, the numbers that they're putting up, the goals that they're scoring, the trophies that they've won. But there was always that lingering reminder from people who watched him play. And when you watch the videos of Diego Maradona, what he did with the ball, you're like, wow. And then listening to all these stories from people who have played against him, people who have played with him, people who've witnessed the greatness of Maradona, you sit down during this situation, during this particular moment in time, and you're like, wow. Specifically, Gary Lineker, I think his story, his fond memory of Diego Maradona. If you haven't gotten the chance to see that memory, the story that he was saying about Diego Maradona as he watched him warm up before they went to play a charity game. You should check it out. It's on BT Sport, and it was mesmerizing. There was that look on Michael Owen's face as he was narrating the story of how, he just juggled the ball up until the center circle, and then as he juggled it, he kept whacking the ball as high as he possibly could, waiting for it to drop, and then whacking it yet again up high as he possibly could 13 times. And I saw the look on Michael Owen's face, and that was the same look I had on my face watching him narrate the story. And I'm like, imagine witnessing something like that. And at the end of his story, he was like, he'd never seen someone have an affection with the ball the way Diego Maradona had. And there's just these videos flooding of Diego Maradona, what he could do with the ball, dribbling, just warming up, juggling the ball, and you're like, what this guy could do with the ball, no one can do with the ball right now. The artistry that Maradona had, there are no words to describe it. The headlines are, the world of football has lost a legend, one of the greats. So hard to argue with that. And the one takeaway that I can have with Maradona is the greatness. His greatness. We all know two sides of Maradona. Two sides to it. I don't know why I'm holding these up, but the two sides to Maradona's story, or to the life of Maradona. The great footballer and the one who had his off-the-field problems. The drug addict, the alcoholic. We know the two sides to Diego Maradona. But there is this one description going around. A flawed genius, a flawed hero. At the end of the day, he was simply human as well. What he did on the pitch, man, that seemed godly. But off the pitch, he was a human. It's almost like what he did off the pitch cancelled out what he did on the pitch. There was this devilish side, and then there was this heavenly side to it. That was Diego Maradona. And I think the story about Maradona that just gets to me is Maradona always knew just how good he was. He always knew just how great he was. And then we know the story of where he left Argentina, went to Barcelona, then after turbulence in Barcelona, he went to Naples. And what we know about Napoli at that time is that it was an impoverished city. Maradona, as one of the greatest, by that time was perhaps the greatest player, not perhaps, he was the greatest player, moved to an impoverished Naples city, to the Serie A, where the most dominant sides belonged in the north. You talk of the likes of AC Milan, Juventus, Inter Milan. Those are the sides that were dominating Italian football. And he, with his caliber, with a player of his caliber, you would have expected him to go to one of the great teams, you know. He's played for FC Barcelona. I mean, why would you want to go to a team like Naples that's never won anything? You know, the surrounding area, all the the criminality rate. There's just it's just not a city fit for a player of his caliber or for a king, you would say. And so he went there, and in that exact first season, he won a Scudetto with Napoli. He broke the cycle. He put Napoli into the conversation. And then 2 years later, he won yet another one, scoring a brace in the last game of the season, the most effective game against Juventus, to win them the title. If that story just does not get to you, of someone who could have played easily for the best teams in the world decided to go to a team that he felt was right for him, to a team that I'm a religious person, I'm a Christian, and we Christians are merely disciples of Christ, and God paves out the way for us to cross. He carves out a path for us to embark on. And what I've come to believe is God literally showed Maradona a path to Naples and was like, this is the path I want you to go on. He could have easily stayed at FC Barcelona and continued his legacy and done whatever he, go on, win whatever, but it was like, he got the message. God carved out this path for him and was like, Naples is where your greatness is going to be established. And he took that path boldly, courageously. I don't know whether, he had his doubts, but he took that path. Found himself in the city of Naples, and the rest, as you know, is history. And then, of course, still speaking of 1986. I think that is the magical year. That is the year. I think if we should stop calling it 1986. We should say 1985 Maradona year, 1987. That World Cup triumph in Mexico. The famous or the infamous hand of God. And then one of the best, if not the best, goals in World Cup history, where he got the ball from his own half, where he dribbled the ball, like the ball just could not leave his feet, going past one, going past two, going past three, and then goal. Deigo Maradona. One of the greatest to ever grace this sport. I never got to watch him play, but just listening to the folklore of this lad, of this legend, just listening, just watching the videos, you can tell that he was something else. It was just a joy to watch. He was just... I have this thing where I'm a sucker for sport. And there are times where if I'm sitting next to a window and my window has a view of a football pitch, more often than not, I'll find myself wandering off and watching the people or the guys out there playing on the football pitch. I remember there was one time, it was actually during an examination, and I was sitting next to a window and there was this view of a football pitch and these guys playing football. I found myself most times, I'm trying to answer these questions, but I'm watching outside and I'm trying to look out and see, just, watch these guys play football. I think to myself, and I know that if ever Maradona was in the same space, the same vicinity, as me sitting in the classroom, whether I'm doing an examination or I was, listening to the teacher and was out there playing. If a paper was like 2 hours long, I'm sure I'd spend 1 hour and 45 minutes or 1 hour and 30 minutes watching Maradona. That guy is exceptional. There's that video going around, that warm-up video of his where the whole stadium had their eyes, everybody in the stadium had their eyes fixated on him. Like, it was an actual game, but it was just mere Maradona dancing around and warming up, just juggling the ball. He had that sort of pull, he had that sort of charisma about him every time he just touched the football. That's who Maradona was. And I'm glad that I'm born in the time that I've been born in, but I kind of feel like, if there was ever any chance, I would have asked God that, God, can I at least get a chance to see him play? Can I just get a chance to see him with my own very eyes with football? Whether he's in heaven, that's a whole other different question. But I can imagine watching him just do the things that he does with the ball. And the one takeaway that I have from this is that Maradona was the light of the world. He was his light of the world. In Matthew chapter 5, there's a story about the salt and the light. If you're a salt of the world, that's all right. But what happens when you lose your taste? You can't regain saltiness, can you? So you're no longer useful. You're not good for anything, but have to just throw you away. But then if you are the light of the world, of which the Bible says that you are the light of the world, Maradona, through football, knew that he was the light of his world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. If you light a lamp, you do not put it under the bed. You want to put it on a light stand so that it can illuminate the whole house or whatever you wanna look at. And in the same way, it tells us, be the light of the world. Show your light to everybody else so that they can thank God for your light. Maradona was his light. He went out there and illuminated us with football. He was, as well, Gary Lineker said, in his generation, by some distance, the greatest of all time. But his greatness personified. His sport has lost a hero. His sport has lost a legend. And whether you knew him or not, whether you watched him or not, I know you still feel that exact same drop. Even till right now, it's going to go on for a couple of days, I'm sure. But you felt it. You know that the world has lost something. The world of football has just lost a piece of itself. But whether you're a football fan watching this or not, one thing that I have to tell you is, be the light of the world. Illuminate yourself. There is greatness in each and every one of us. Simply, Maradona's greatness was football. Be your light of the world. And yet, who knows? Who knows? Who knows just how far you can go? Maradona, he's left a legacy. He's left a legacy. Through that light that he had in him. Your ball. Diego Armando Maradona, Argentine football player, football great, football legend. Your legacy will always be remembered.